You know, it's funny. Life has a way of changing everything when you just get hit with that one moment. That one moment. That one person gets put in your life and it just alters everything that you do. Well, I'm here to tell you that at the age of 11, that is exactly what happened to me. You see, I was in a tough spot at the time. I was like, complaining to my friends and stuff about how tough life was at home, things that were going wrong, things that were bad. But have you ever just felt like no matter what you said, no matter what you did, your life never changed at home? Like, you'd come home from school and it would just be the same routine. Well, I'm here to tell you that I did too. And it's okay. We're all stuck in this routine called life. We're always coming through with new ideas on how to keep ourselves entertained, how to stay away from home, how do we deal with the criticism, the scrutiny, the chore lists, whatever it may be. So when I was 11 and I was introduced to this guy, Luis, who ran a daycare in my hometown. Now, at first I was like, man, is this guy gay or what? A male daycare provider? That's a little weird. Not something I had heard a lot of, right? So anyhow, I was like, you know what? Why not? I'm anxious just to find someone that could help. So here I was, this lost little kid at 11, and I was trying to make new friends, new town, and everything. So I go over there to introduce myself to him, and my friend takes me so that it's not so awkward. And I get introduced to him, and there he introduced me to something that just changed my entire perspective of life, called He Changed My Perspective. So he made me realize something. He made me realize that there was a different viewpoint than what I'd known throughout growing up. Where have you ever thought you were just stuck in a rut and you were just hitting rewind every day, going through the same motions, the same problems, the same issues in your head over and over, going, how can I make things better? How can they get better? What can I do to change things? These were thoughts in my head at 11 that I just could not control. It was a never ending game. And so here I am, talking with him one day, and we're having a chat, and he goes, I understand what you're thinking, and I know you feel like you're defeated. You feel like your life is going to end up just like theirs because it's what you were born into. He goes, so I want to paint a picture, and I'm going to have a challenge. I have something to challenge you with. And I said, oh, okay. So I'm just sitting there staring at him attentively, like, what? Like, what could you possibly tell me? Well, he says, do you ever realize that people who think about negativity, they surround themselves with negativity? I said, yes. He goes, do you ever catch yourself when you're being negative? I said, sometimes. Other times I feel like I just deserved it. I deserve to feel bad about myself because there's nothing to be happy for. So he sits me down, right? And I'm sitting at him. I'm like 3 feet away from him, man. And he looks at me and he goes, we're going to have to change that. And I said, well, change what? I can't change what happens at my home. I can't change my dad and stop him from drinking. I can't change my brothers from being on drugs or drinking and being jerks to me. I couldn't change any of it. What could you possibly tell me that I can change? Because believe me, I was all ears. Well, believe it or not, that is exactly what happened. He said this is going to happen overnight. It's going to take a course of time, years. He goes, but I want you to know something. For the amount of years that you did take abuse, whether it was verbal, physical, mental, he goes, no matter what happens, he goes, I want you to know that's going to take just as many years, if not longer than that, for you to find a way to overcome it. And I said, that's like most of my life. He goes, well, yeah, you're 11. You figure it's going to take you 9 to 10 years to get out of this. Probably won't snap out of it until you're in your 20s or 30s. And I said, oh, Jesus, that doesn't really give me much hope. you know? So anyway, we get to this chat, and I was telling him about these girls I was dating and stuff, and things I was going through at school, and I was getting bullied and hazed, and how nobody ever took me seriously because I was always a goofball, and I was nominated like the biggest flirt in middle school for like 6th and 7th grade. And so he goes, well, so you do good at school, but you do crappy at home. And I said, well, pretty much, minus the bullying, but that's everywhere. And he says to me, he goes, well, then I guess it's time I teach you about what children's learn what they live. And I said, what is that? So I He told me, he's like, children learn what they live, and he shows me this poster of this poem and everything, and I'll be going over that in the next video for sure. But I want to explain that when he introduced this to me, I was at a place in my life where just any advice would work. I was lost. And he said, maybe it's time you change the way that you view your family. Instead of looking up to them as people that you should admire, respect, well, he says, how about you just change it to what you want it to be? Make your life what you want to become. He goes, if you don't want to become your brothers, if you don't want to become your dad, then every day you got to make a decision that's going to change that. Do you want to become them that day? That day you may say yes, but he goes, but if not, then use them as great examples of what not to do with your life. And if you choose to not do those things, then just maybe you can break your family pattern and change your life. So I want everyone to know, if you've ever had someone who's come across your path that's ever just changed the way you view things, flipped a switch. Have anyone's ever gotten your engagement, right? Like just totally blew you away with a comment they said or a story that they shared with you. Please let me know. I would love to hear those things. So please share your comments, your thoughts. And I really look forward to going over next video with you guys where we discuss children learn what they live. That will set the pace for you guys to understand how my life also continued to change. Take care.